How important is it that college basketball address the issue of pace of play? What's at stake here, Seth?
Well, everything is at stake, Maggie. As someone who has chronicled this game, I don't like to do the math and clearly loves the game. This game is facing a crisis. And until we call it a crisis, we are not going to summon the broad scale, real changes that need to be applied to the game. This is the lowest scoring college basketball season since 1952. Let me say that again. It's the lowest scoring season since 1952. The second lowest season since 1952 happened 2 years ago. Now, last year, the Rules Committee put an emphasis on clamping down on physical play, and they made a change to the block charge rule to make it harder to draw a charge. It was a difficult transition, but it did have its intended effect that scoring went up. They reversed the rule, and then they have slipped once again on enforcing the physical play, which is why we've seen the steepest single season drop in points on record. And this is now the 13th time in the last 15 years that scoring has gone down. So we keep trying to trim at the margins. In my piece, Maggie, I start with 5 rules changes that I want to see go in place immediately. A shorter shot clock down to 30 seconds, a bigger arc under the basket to go to the NBA's 4 feet to make it harder to draw a charge, a wider lane, a deeper three-point line, which is reflective of what they have in international ball, and then fewer timeouts because the end of the games have become interminable with coaches calling all these timeouts. So this is a very, very big problem, and it needs very, very big changes. No more trimming at the margins, no more color coding this thing. It's a crisis, and it's time for an extreme makeover.
So, Seth, of those 5 changes that you propose, which one do you think would really move the game, make it faster, make it more high scoring?
Well, I think all of them, but what I would say is the first 2 that I mentioned, the shorter clock and the bigger arc, I think almost a certainty that's going to be in effect next year. The NCAA, which now owns the postseason NIT tournament, is going to use the 30-second clock and the bigger arc during the NIT on an experimentation basis. And I do think it makes sense to do things maybe 1 or 2 rules at a time, experiment, and that way you can see the results and avoid the laws of unintended consequences. But a lot of the problem, Maggie, is how rules get made. If you look at the makeup of the Rules Committee, there are 12 men on the Rules Committee. 6 seats on the 12-member panel are set aside for Division II and Division III because they all operate under the same rule book. And currently, the 6 Division I members, only one of them is from a Power 5 conference. So you have schools that are not on TV every night, not generating most of the revenue, not having the best players. They're right now being shut out of the rules-making process, and I think there's a very real conversation about changing that up, at the very least having an all-Division I rules committee, and that way we can have a Division I game, and if D2 and D3 want to go along with those changes, they have the option of doing so.